So very exciting times on the Isle of Man. We have some wonderful guests with us from a beautiful country, and I'm looking forward to finding out more from them in just a second's time.
My name is Beatrice Atyang. I'm from Uganda.
My name is Auma Christine from Uganda.
I'm called Margaret Apio from Uganda.
My name's Pat Brennan from Glasgow.
My name is Gary Cracknell from Laxey.
Some from very far and some from much closer to home. But first of all, let's just find out about the charity itself, because I think originally it was registered in Jersey, isn't it? Tell us how it sort of all came about and what, for instance, Standard Bank's involvement with it is.
Okay. There was a gentleman called John Carnegie who was visiting Uganda and fell upon Mifumi, and there was some children sitting under a tree, which was the start of the school. He decided to get involved financially. He came back to Jersey, he spoke to some people, managed to gather some money together to get the money sent out there. And because Standard Bank is an African bank, John Carnegie met some guys socially at some do, discussed this school, and Standard Bank, because it was an African bank, decided that they would like to get involved. And over the last 5-6 years, guys from Jersey and Isle of Man have gone over to the school, and once you go to the school, you tend not to forget it, and everybody that's been involved really enthusiastic about the school, and we always try and do as much as we can, raising money, raising funds, gathering up clothes, school uniforms, shoes, different things. Over the course of the year, we get it all sent over. It's a fantastic charity, and we're always very happy to try and help.
Gary, tell us about, as Pat was just saying there, the Isle of Man Standard Bank very much involved as well. And you've been hosting pupils from Mifumi for several years now, haven't you? Why have you been doing this?
It's more of a reward for some of the guys, and it's basically because, as Pat mentioned there, we do go out to the school. So we like to move it around in reverse and get some key personnel to come and visit us here in the Isle of Man. So Christine is here with us, and I'm sure you'll hear her speak in a minute. So she's coming round with us, looking around all the schools. We've actually visited 2 schools already today. We've been to Henry Bloom Noble, which they were very impressed with, and we've just come hot foot from Brennan School, where we joined in some lessons with the kids. They've been in Jersey. They had a big charity ball in Jersey last Friday, which they raised the grand sum so far of £23,500.
Wow.
I know, it's amazing, isn't it? And all this was put together from conception to delivery within 6 or 7 weeks. And we're now on the school visiting. What we're trying to do is we're trying to form long-term partnerships with some of the schools. A lot of the schools we're visiting already collect clothes for us, and as Pat mentioned, we collect them here in the Isle of Man, they collect them there in Jersey. We collect the clothes, the jumpers, anything from babies right up to adults is distributed to much needy recipients. We also take shoes as well, because most of the children don't have any shoes when they go to school, because they walk barefoot to school.
And you just mentioned Christine there. Christine, come forward, talk to me. So, what do you think of the Isle of Man?
Isle of Man is good, and we have visited some schools. Those schools have supported us with some good clothes, shoes and bags. So we thank them for collecting for us those things to help us put on shoes, put on clothes, because we had no those things. So we thank them so much.
So it makes a real difference to you and your friends and family?
Yes.
Yeah. So have you been outside of Uganda before?
No.
This is your first time?
Yes.
What's it been like? What's the travel and experience been like being in different places?
It was good, but the weather is not good.
Well said. Very cold.
Yes.
Beatrice, tell me about your involvement with Mifumi.
Thank you. I'd like to say Isle of Man is a very beautiful place.
You can come back.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and we are very happy to be here. Thank you for hosting us. I work for a local charity in Uganda called Mifumi. And what Mifumi does, we work to protect women and children experiencing domestic violence and child abuse. That's the main work we do. But we also work to protect rights of women and children, and that's how we get involved with Mifumi Primary School. Yeah, so what we do with the school is that My Charity supports the school a lot, but we also link them up with the outside world, like with other donors like Standard Bank, and then other people out there who are willing to help. So we are like a link between the school and the donors.
What are some of the biggest challenges for whereabouts you live? What are some of the biggest issues? You mentioned domestic abuse and...
Yeah, basically, this visit is very important to us because we are able to see life out here. Mm-hmm. We have visited a couple of schools and it's totally different from what we have back in Uganda. First of all, the class sizes are very small here, and yet in Uganda, a rural public school, we can have as many as 100 children in a class, which is so different from here. And then also the level of poverty. Here, children have everything, and yet down there children lack a lot. They go barefoot, they have no clothes, they don't have so many things that we find here. So by us coming down here, we are able to share a lot of experiences and also get children here learning about what goes on in other countries. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a very great experience for us, and we do share a lot.
And Margaret, tell us about your involvement and what you've been doing here this past week.
Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be in this place because it's really a very, very beautiful place. You know, you look, every place you reach in, you just get surprised and you say, surely, we never knew such places existed in the world. So we are really grateful to our partners, Standard Bank, who made it possible for us to be here. So my involvement is I work closely with Beatrice because she coordinates the education project. And I'm a teacher, but mainly we are trying to look at how we can support children develop life skills through the kind of methodology that we bring in. Because when you look at domestic violence, most of the women have suffered because they don't know what to do. They don't know that they can raise their voices. So if they had these life skills, we believe they would be talking out, speaking out, and the rate would have reduced. So in the schools, we are looking at how do we bring in the methods of teaching. For example, if I'm teaching maths, how do I support children in that class? Apart from teaching them maths, how do we talk about standing out? How do we talk about discussion? What is the importance of a child being able to debate, for example, in relation to the challenges that they go through? So while we are here, we have really learned a lot. And since that is the major question that has been in my heart as a teacher, I'm looking at the different ways in which the children over these ends are being made aware of their rights. They are being made aware of what they should stand in for, unlike our side. Because here you see a child talks to a parent, talks to a teacher with confidence, but for us sometimes it may be looked at as rude. So when a child stands out, they say, now this child is going to be a bad one. Why is she talking to elders like this? So we are really learning a lot. We are learning and we are seeing how the environment, the conducive environment, can make a child disciplined. Because we have so many children in the classroom. If you don't set up things which can really keep these children contained in the class, you'll end up with a class which by the end of the day does not achieve the objectives which you set at the beginning. So we are really looking at how we can stand with our friends, the Standard Bank Jersey and the Isle of Man, and see how we can look for methods which can be used in a class which is so big with a little that they have provided for us. So we really appreciate everything. We appreciate moving around our schools because we are really learning a lot, and we believe we are going to be agents of change as we go out there.
Do you know, I'm listening to this now and just thinking, it's more, to me, it feels like it's more the other way, that we could be learning so much from you. How have the schools that you've been in since you've been here, how have they received what you've had to say?
In most cases, the children have come to realize that what they really have is so much compared to what other children, have. So they have seen that, here you just go and open a fridge and you get whatever you want. But in Uganda, you must wake up very early, go and work in the family garden, gather firewood, carry a jerrycan of water before you run to school. And you're running to school on an empty stomach. The teacher is waiting for you. Probably the domestic chores were too many and you couldn't even do your homework. But the teacher is waiting for you. You are late. Maybe you haven't done the homework. You are hungry. So the African child is really going through a lot, such that you find that the performance is bad, not because they are really weak, but because of the environment, the home environment, and then also along the way the community messages. Like for the girls, once the breasts begin, coming up, they say, this one is a woman, you should go and get married. And somehow some fathers accept. So you find the girls are struggling to succeed against the hostile messages and conditions around them. And even the boys, sometimes they feel when the voices change, I can now be a husband, but they don't think about what does it take to be a father. That is all lack of life skills, which I believe if the teachers are impacted, if the teachers are talked to and sensitized, together with the messages that the Mifumi Project gives, I believe we'll have a better people.
Beatrice, you mentioned the men there. Margaret just mentioned the men there. How do young boys and men receive these sort of messages that you're putting through the schools? Because this is the sort of thing that will potentially make them change their behaviour quite a lot, won't it? Especially when you're talking about, sort of domestic abuse and sort of the gender difference over there. How are the men receiving this education?
Previously, that is way back in 1999, when the charity just started its work, it was very hostile for us to work in that environment because the men were used to being the boss around. But when this little organization came up and started fighting for the rights of women and girls, it was very unbelievable for them. They were like, how dare do they come and start changing the culture? Because the culture believes that men have the power. Yeah, and they're the decision maker. So a woman has no right to stand up and talk about anything. Yeah, so it was very, very challenging, but with constant sensitization, trainings, sensitizations, working with various schools, and then working with women's groups, we were able to impart as much message to them as possible. And I'm happy to say right now, most of the men, generally the community, are aware. People used to believe that sending a girl to school was a wastage of time. And through that sensitization, we have now more girls joining school. Like, I'm happy to inform you that Mifumi Primary School, we enroll more girls than boys. To encourage them stay in school, and we try to create a conducive learning environment for them so that they can stay as long as possible in school. Because if you do not support the girls, you find along the way they may drop out, or the parents may at times stop them from going to school because they want to marry them off. So we are out there to protect their rights. Yeah, and it has been very helpful.
Oh, it's really encouraging to hear. It's fantastic. Christine, just tell me, what is your day like at home?
I wake up in the morning, I say my prayer. After saying, then I go either dig, either fetch water. Then now I come and bathe, and I run to school.
What do you want to be when you grow up? Do you learn things in school that make you think, do you know what, I could be an engineer, or I could be a scientist, or I could be a teacher? What do you think you'd like to be when you grow up?
A doctor.
Very good. Very good. And Margaret, is the education sufficient that Christine could really be a doctor when she grows up? Could she go that far with the education that she has in Uganda?
Yeah, it all depends on the school you are in and the resources that you have. Now, for a child to be a doctor, I'm comparing still what we are doing with what happens this way. At least what I've discovered over these ends is that, the children in Europe or America start when they are still early. For example, if someone wants to be a footballer, they start very early and they go to the football academy. They are trained. By 12 years, a child is a serious footballer. But for us, it is very different. A child may want to be a doctor, and sometimes they don't even know what it takes to be a doctor. And even if the teacher may have an idea, you may not have the resources to help this child begin simple experiments like dissection, and then taking them for trips like you go to the hospital. So someone may want to become a doctor, but sometimes their dreams are shattered, which is very frustrating. But we are believing that with the time, we are believing, it is good to have hope. Much as things may not seem to be working, we have hope that with a partnership that we have with the Standard Bank, we believe that at a certain point we shall be very confident and say, surely we have prepared them enough and they can become what they desire to be. That is what we are looking at.
Well said.
Yes.
And Pat, you listening to this, I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it? The difference between our kids in school here and what the likes of Christian and Christian's friends have, as their day-to-day lives and what their education and what they have to deal with on a daily basis. And that's why I suppose something like this is so important, to give our kids that sort of knowledge as to, sort of what it is like in the rest of the world.
It's a different world altogether. It's only when you go there that opens your eyes and you see the different, from my kids growing up to how these young children are expected to live. But Standard Bank do great work, but they can't rely on charities long term. This has got to be a government thing to help education and spend money on education. Whether they can get that infrastructure, I don't know. It's maybe a long way down the line. The help that they should get from the government in Uganda could be a long time coming. And I think in the meantime, it's going to be guys and charities that are helping them now, because I just don't believe that the government in Uganda are going to cover education costs in the next generation or the generation after, which is a sad thing.
But if people are listening now and they think, this is something I really want to support, I really want to help, I want to, whether it's clothes, like Christine was talking about the clothes there, whether it's money, or how can they actually get involved and help?
Well, locally in Isle of Man, the best point of contact would be Standard Bank. And as soon as you contact Standard Bank, somebody will be taking your email address or your phone number and how to get anything from you, whether it's clothes or money.
Okay, I'd just like to say a couple of things about the Mifumi Charity and Standard Bank. Pat alluded to the fact that we do large clothes collections with a lot of the schools on the island. It's not necessarily the schools. I mean, anybody can come and donate their clothes or shoes or anything of that nature, and we do put it to good use. We've just sent 70 boxes out to the Mifumi Charity. Beatrice took receipt of them and she'll be distributing them at the same time. And interestingly, I was talking to her about it before, and what they do is they get the children to line up and they each are able to take home an item of clothing each. It may be shoes, it may be a pair of trousers, it may be a top, and they often pick up something not for themselves but for their parents or their siblings. That's how thoughtful they are, and often at the expense of picking something for themselves. So every item, if anybody wants to talk about it, come into the bank. I'm more than willing to share it, because like myself and Pat, I've been out to the charity and seen what exceptional work they do out there, and see that everything donated down to the last penny of item of clothing is put to good use. Thank you.
And Christine, one final question for you. What has been your favourite thing in your trip? What's been the best thing you've done so far this trip?
Beating me at table tennis today.
Did you beat him at table tennis?
Yes.
High five.